Season ended, but the draft is just around the corner. We're going to be doing our 2024 mock draft, as well as looking at a lot of the prospects in this year's draft. Let's get into foul trouble. All right, and we have a special guest, our boy Neal, college basketball expert.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, is expert the right term or avid fan?
I would say a little of both. I'm not gonna know the players from like Kennesaw State or anything like that, but all the big names and all the top teams, yeah, I know.
Either
pretty
way,
well.
you watch about 15 times more college basketball than both of us combined. So we're very happy to have you here today, Neal.
I only watched one men's game during the during the college basketball season. I watched Duke get obliterated by North Carolina.
Really?
Yeah.
It was the game where I just watched that game actually the other day. Cormac Ryan had 31 in Cameron.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a game.
Oh, yeah. Cormac.
He's not gonna get drafted. Sorry, Cormac.
Okay, so I don't know how much we want to just jump into it because I'm obviously a very big, casual when it comes to college basketball. I'm kind of a hardline NBA guy, but this year's draft is really weird because it feels like it's all freshmen and seniors. Is that an accurate way to describe it, or
A lot of the freshmen that came in this year, they didn't have the impact that people thought. If you looked at mocks from the beginning of the season, even looking at Kansas, team that I support the most, Marco Jackson, there was a mock that I saw. He was mocked as high as 6. He's not even
a prospect.
Not even a prospect. State of Kansas. It was one of the that's how weird this class was. Stephon Castle. He's a guy that kind of came back into the draft boards, but in early January there was is he even going to come back, or is he going to go back to UConn, or is he going to stay?
Yeah, I guess the one prospect I'm really curious is the guard out of USC, Isaiah Collier, because he was at the top of the high school recruiting class, and then a lot of boards I see him around that outside the lottery, kind of right outside the lottery, but before 20 range. What happened with a guy like him?
He didn't have much support at USC in terms of the talent around him, and a lot of his weaknesses got shown. Not a good shooter, really fast in the open court, but he's not someone that is going to create his own shot off the dribble.
Yeah, it was like a really weird situational thing as well. It's like a true point guard that's next to a guy like Bronny James who offers no shooting at all. Then from what I understood, Boogie Ellis was supposed to leave, and then he stayed around. So that was another kind of shot chucking guy, and then it was just kind of this clusterfuck of
it was a weird.
Where's my spot?
It was a weird team comp. They had a lot of. They pretty much went 3 guards between Boogie when Bronny was there, him and Isaiah Collier. Isaiah dealt with some injuries too. It was a weird situation for him. I think what we saw a lot this year in college was the fact that the better teams showcased, Stephon Castle, he was put in a position to succeed because there was all this talent around him. Zaccharie, same thing. And he's not a freshman, but just in general. And someone like Isaiah Collier really didn't have that support system where everything he did wrong you knew about because he had to try to do everything.
Yeah, it was
and he's the headline guy in a big city team,
exactly,
next to Bronny James,
exactly, with a team with all its expectations.
Yeah, I think because I think what's this draft, what a lot of people have said, people like Russillo have said, oh, this draft is basically starting at 10 and working your way back. There's no traditional top 5 talent in this draft, and it does seem like this draft has a lot of guys Reed Shepard, who is going to be okay, and he's actually unique because he's a freshman, but a lot of these guys are older, and it's interesting because it's I feel like a lot of these are going to be this. It's going to be when this rookie year happens, people are going to be whoa, I thought this draft class was supposed to suck, but then it's none of these guys ever progress into a true star.
Do you know how the comp that I like to think of this whole draft class is someone like Jaime Jaquez. Someone like Jaime Jaquez, he came in immediately. I think he was probably 3rd or 4th in the Rookie of the Year voting. He wasn't someone that, even if at his absolute peak as an NBA player, he'll probably be a good starter or a great bench guy.
Yeah, a 4th, 5th guy on a championship team.
I totally agree with you. I was kind of losing my mind as a Heat fan when I was wow, Jaime's pretty good, but then people were Jaime should have gone 2nd, and I was guys, come on, Brandon Miller in 3 years is going to be definitively better than him.
And this whole draft, I think if you zoom out and come back 10 years, you're going to have a bunch of guys, maybe 15 to 20 guys that are still in the league, still producing 10 years from now, and it's going to be one of those draft classes where it's full of Patrick Beverleys or Bobby Portis's or kind of these, like you said, the 4th or 5th option guys that are. They're not, you don't have the star talent, but
and it seems that's a pretty deep well compared to other drafts with this draft class.
Yeah. So who, if you could name maybe 3 guys who you think could flip the script and actually move up a tier, maybe they're not a superstar and all NBA level guy, but maybe the type of guy who makes 3 or 4 all-star teams. Who are the 1 or 2 guys you think could push it to there?
I think Castle. I mean, I know I've talked about him enough. Stephon Castle. If he can,
you're high on Castle.
if the shooting comes around, I know that's kind of the question mark right now. If the shooting comes around, he's an elite defender. Like he already is an elite defender. I think he's going to come in day one, and that's what he's going to like hang his hat on.
The guy that I think of when I was watching Castle is like kind of like a Jalen Suggsy kind of guy. Is that like the right?
Yes, I mean Jalen Suggs is one of the comps. Anthony Black is another one again. I think I'm high on Anthony Black just in general. Mm-hmm. But he's also the same thing. Really good defender, long rangey point guard, can't shoot.
Yeah, and it's like Suggs, his 3-pointer was going in the playoffs.
Yes.
And you saw how
bulldog.
much
just an absolute
he was
bulldog.
able to contribute.
Yeah, as a refresher, Castle is the starting guard for UConn as a freshman. They just won the championship. So he's kind of weird with his shot, though, because, you know, in the NBA, the biggest indicator of, like, can you shoot threes? Can you shoot at all? Is, like, your college free throw percentage. And, like, he had, like, a tale of two seasons where, like, first half of the college season, he can't shoot a free throw. Yep. Second half of the college season, he's, like, a good free throw shooter.
And another thing with him is injury. He tore his meniscus and missed the first month of the season. So that's another concern for him is the injury stuff. But that's like...
But ended up with 26% from three and 75% from the free throw line, which isn't terrible.
Yeah. So how big is Castle?
6'6".
Like 6'6". So he's got prototypical size. Yeah, I mean, the guy that I had done the most research on, like, earlier was Topic, the international guy from Serbia. But... it's like he's got a partially torn ACL now, so probably a slower start to the rookie year. Another thing with Topic that was kind of weird was the selling point for Topic was like he's a big lanky guard. He can, you know, create for others. He's really good in the paint, but then, you know, the measurables come out and he has a negative wingspan, which normally, like in basketball, it's this weird inverse thing where you get a longer wingspan. Usually you're better at blocking shots, finishing around the rim, but you're not as good of a shooter. And usually players with the shorter wingspan tend to be good shooters. But Topic isn't a good shooter. So I'm kind of really worried about him. And I've noticed him shooting down draft boards, which I don't think the ACL alone would really do.
That's interesting because I had seen the injury and like for a while it didn't seem like it moved him down draft boards. And like I would say like in the last, 3 weeks, all of a sudden he just started to plummet.
Yeah.
Another worry I have with Topic is, and this is kind of like a very like baseline stat thing, but so he was averaging 27 minutes per game, which isn't like a huge workload, but he was also averaging 3 personal fouls a game.
Yeah.
Which like for that minute load is a pretty high like threshold. And I can only imagine like going from Red Star in Russia to the NBA
to guarding Stephen Curry.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a pretty difficult like jump to take. And then like someone who's relying on finishing at the rim so much that just in what I was able to watch of Topic, which I am no like draft expert, there's no, Rudy Gobert in that league. And when you start having like real primary rim protection as well as weak side rim protection, as we've seen, like that's kind of exploded in the last couple of years in the NBA, that I have some concerns. But the passing is real and it's razzle dazzle and it is beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's what's the worry with Topic is it's hard to imagine him being like an effective scoring guard. Like he almost profiles as like, how did the Spurs make this guy work coming off the bench? But I don't really ever see him being that starting level guy. I feel like I kind of moved past Castle a little bit. Like, what does the actualized version of Castle look like? Like, what is his star? If he does hit his absolute ceiling and becomes maybe a 3 or 4 time All-Star, what would that look like?
To me, it's Drew Holiday. I think that's kind of like if I'm comping an All-Star, I think it's closer to Drew Holiday. Mm-hmm. He's got the defense. Drew Holiday's an elite defender. Stephon Castle, the shooting, Drew Holiday can shoot the ball, but I mean, if he can shoot the ball the way Drew Holiday can, he's got the whole game.
What do you think? There's been a lot of rumors that he's been trying to posture himself into a team where he can be the lead guard. That was not a role he had at UConn.
No.
What do you like? Do you think he has like that upside in his game, or is that kind of him just wanting to be in a scenario where he can have the ball a lot?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think in high school he played, obviously he was a starting point guard. He has certain passing chops, but I think using Drew Holiday as the comp, like, would you say Drew Holiday was the lead ball handler on that Celtics team, or would you say it was Derek White?
No, I would say it was one of the Jays.
Really?
I mean, the Celtics are unique because they're so egalitarian, but I mean, Drew was definitely more of like lead ball handler back in New Orleans.
Milwaukee.
Yeah, Milwaukee. I don't know.
But
I feel like Drew's
like,
never really been a dominant on-ball guard like that.
And that's why I think it's interesting for Stephon Castle because, like, watching him at UConn, he played off the ball. He had Cam Spencer running the point guard. And I think that was a much better role for him. It is. I've heard these reports, too. It is interesting that he wants the ball in his hand.
It worries me to hear that he's trying to make that reality for himself.
So it's interesting because I feel like at this draft, especially the last 2 months, it's been like there's no consensus. No one agrees who's going to go number one. No one agrees on anyone's big board. But then over the last week, like Bleacher Report, ESPN, The Ringer, pretty much every publication has the same top 4 in their mock drafts, which is the guy we even talked about, Zaccharie.
Risacher.
Frenchman. Not the Frenchman Sarr, but going number 1 to the Hawks, more of like a Swiss Army knife type small forward. It seems like number 2, Alexander Sarr to the Wizards, and number 3, Reed Shepherd to the, I am blinking on the draft order,
Rockets.
to the Rockets, and number 4 would be Castle to the Spurs. So I feel like with what you're talking about with Castle, it kind of feels like the Spurs would be a good fit because I feel like ultimately this actualized version of the Wembanyama Spurs isn't going to be about the guards.
No, not at all.
It's going to be about the defense.
Absolutely. I mean, even if you use the old Spurs as like a model, like putting Vic in the Tim Duncan role, Tony Parker really didn't dominate the ball. Neither did Manu. Right? That system isn't built for something like that. And Stephon Castle would be a really good like guard defender and like connector for that system.
Yeah, so we're getting into, I feel like this is kind of a good place to look at like our candidates for the number 1 pick. It's obviously owned by the Atlanta Hawks. James, what do you feel like Atlanta should be looking for in this pick?
I feel like the thing with the Hawks, it's so difficult. I mean, it's because there's so many different ways to look at this. But one, I think we know now, especially in a draft like this, where if you're taking a freshman, you can't expect them to instantly impact the game, especially if they're a perimeter player. So I feel like the Hawks, if they're going to stick with Trae Young, they need proper rim protection. Capella's a great center. Okongwu is a great switchable big, but they don't have that standard Derek Lively type. And I think that's what that team is really, really missing. So I feel like, I mean, it's tough though with Sarr because I feel like Sarr wants to be a perimeter player.
Yeah.
And you know, especially with Trae Young, you're a little bit more in like, I kind of want an instant contributor. So I don't know, how out of pocket would it be if like Clingan went number 1?
I don't think it would be out of pocket at
It
all.
seems like if you're going to stick with Trae Young, Clingan might be a good first overall pick because he can rim run better than the other centers. He's bigger, he's thicker, he's going to be able to protect the rim. I think then you can move on from Capella and keep Okongwu. I just don't know if Okongwu and Clingan can play together. I think that's the weird thing. The problem with the Hawks is like when you have an Okongwu or a Bam Adebayo, those guys are awesome when you insulate them with great perimeter defenders because the defense isn't funneling them to defend the rim every 2 seconds. They're able to play switch. But, I mean, on the Hawks, like when the perimeter defense is that lacking at the point of attack, I feel like the rim protection is a lot more important than having the switchable big like a Bam or an Okongwu. So, I don't know. I feel like Trae Young kind of breaks the whole mold of what the team could be. So, that's really the informative point is like, are they going to stick with Trae or are they going to move on from Trae?
Yeah, it's like fit versus just like overall swing here. What do you think about Clingan as a number 1 overall prospect?
Clingan's a stud. What's crazy is I have for the Hawks, I wrote down obviously Clingan, Risacher, and Sarr, and I put it in that order. It's like I would pick Donovan Clingan if I was the Atlanta Hawks. I just think exactly like you said, like he's bigger. He's like, to me, he reminds me of like, he's a weird comp, but I said Roy Hibbert.
Okay.
And how those Indiana Pacers teams, like they had elite defending everywhere, but they really tried to funnel it to the verticality of Roy Hibbert. And I think he provides that. In college, he was a monster, an absolute monster. He could have went in the first round last year.
7'3", 282 pounds.
Absolute mammoth of a man. Like,
Yeah, and I feel like especially now, I know this year's finals wasn't really the best showcase of this because it's like a stretch 5 in Porzingis and more of like defensive specialist for the Mavericks. But across the league, we're seeing the center position become a lot more important again. So I think having guys who can actually defend that position is also super important.
I mean, like, if you're the Atlanta Hawks, like if Joel Embiid goes out there, he's going to annihilate Okongwu.
Yeah.
Like he probably still going to annihilate Donovan Clingan, but he's not going to just bully him.
Yeah, and I think like what makes the Hawks also even more vulnerable to bigs like that, especially in the current landscape of their team, is because I think a lot of times when the Sixers play the Celtics, people are like, "Why isn't Embiid just scoring 50?" And it's like, well, Tatum is 6'10". It's not just like they have these bigs. It's like also like all the guys around the bigs are really big, which mucks it up. Whereas the Hawks, it's like 6'5" guys.
Yeah, but I mean that they follow the same mold as the Denver Nuggets. Like Michael Porter Jr. is 6'10", Jason Tatum is 6'10", Aaron Gordon is 6'10". Porzingis is 7'3", Al Horford 6'10". So everybody's big on that team.
It kind of feels like the Hawks are full of guys who are like you could take any one of these Hawks role players and throw them on another team, be like that guy would complete this team with his shooting, But when they're all together on the Hawks with Trae Young and this porous defense, it just doesn't
fit.
It's very like 2018 Lakers of like, I can see each one of you guys being really good.
Just not in this situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think assuming the Hawks are going to have the similar framework of how they currently are, I would go with Clingan number 1.
I don't know if you've heard this. They've been trying to get Sarr in for a workout, and he hasn't responded to any of their stuff.
I have seen that intel. Like,
I don't know if he doesn't want to go to
bouncing
Atlanta or
yeah, I mean, so I think we do need to have like a little bit of a longer conversation about Sarr right here real quick.
Yeah.
My worry with the Hawks, if they were to go with Clingan, I don't see a Clingan, a Okongwu front court as like a feasible thing.
Especially on offense.
Yeah, a Okongwu just doesn't have the offensive game. I don't think that should necessarily dictate what you do with the first overall pick, especially right here. I mean, the Hawks were a team that I definitely had greater expectations for coming into the season than what they were able to do. Obviously, the Trae Young, DeJounte Murray thing, like both of them could be gone. That's where Sarr comes in. Sarr, you could see, like you can picture what an Okongwu Sarr front court would look like. But there's a lot of questions with the shot, I think, especially from Sarr.
Yeah, that's what's so tricky about the Hawks is it feels like the Hawks themselves are like, I guess we'll trade one of Murray or Young, but we don't even know which one it's going to be. It just depends who we get better value for. And then it's like, you draft Sarr or Clingan. One of the two bigs they currently have is going to go. Mm-hmm. I don't know. The Hawks are just such a weird influx team, too.
Yeah.
And I feel like, too, with the Hawks, like Jalen Johnson really kind of showed out and showed up last year. But it's not like Jalen Johnson was like, oh, wow, this is Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite on that level.
So what do you think is the ceiling for Sarr? Sarr would be the ceiling pick.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely the guy that we're talking about that has the highest ceiling. I mean, just looking at him, at 6'11", loves to shoot. You can see the stretch 4, stretch 5 if he can get there with the jump shot. Jaren Jackson, if he can develop just a little more. Evan Mobley's probably closer to it in terms of like what we're looking at.
Okay.
Is he gonna have to be able to put on enough
Claxton.
weight to be Jaren Jackson though? Because I think that's like a sneaky thing with Jaren is like really good solid build.
And even if he's not, then you profile him as like a Nick Claxton.
Yeah. He is lanky. I think he has a real motor to him, which is nice. And obviously like the 7'1", 224 frame isn't like great, but 7'4" wingspan, that's really awesome. I don't know. I feel like this is where we've got to decide who are we gonna give the Hawks with this first pick.
Are we assuming the Hawks are gonna like do the thing where they either trade Trae or DeJounte?
Yes.
And try to compete?
Yeah, I think for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a safe thing to assume.
I mean, every mock has them taking Zaccharie, Risacher. Are we gonna just follow every other Risacher? The French guys, I don't know if I could.
I think it's Risacher.
Risacher.
That was not. That was not
Doing a little Bill Simmons impression.
Bro, I don't know about these French guys.
Risacher.
I'm like a mid 2000s GM. I don't know about these European guys. Wouldn't touch these softies.
I see him as kind of like a poor man's Trey Murphy. That's how I see Risacher. He has like a very big, nice frame. I think he can move his feet on defense. Obviously, he's a shooter, but I just don't know about like the holistic. Like, I don't really see him like putting the ball on the floor on the next level. I don't see him being like a world-changing defender, but I see him being as one that can survive.
I have a take. I don't like guys who are both a foot taller than me, but are the same weight as me. I feel like that's a rebounding problem waiting to happen, and that applies to him and Matas. Bro, look, foreign guys, it's okay. I'll butcher it.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, we're just gonna power through with the name pronunciations. I don't love Risacher as a number one overall pick,
and I think that's the problem that this draft has is like if I told you I was going to draft,
I don't love any of these guys as number one overall pick.
And that's the thing. It's like knowing that like. Last year I drafted Victor Wembanyama as the number one pick, and now I'm going to go draft, like Harrison Barnes. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? That's really what it is.
But like even with the three guys that we're talking about like a guy that we think can be like a rotation wing, probably a starting wing, a guy that we know can be your center of the future and sop up like 30 minutes a game
Yeah.
in the playoffs, and one guy that does have a legitimately super high ceiling, but we just don't know if he can reach it.
Yeah. Okay. I guess 2 questions as we officially start our mock draft. One, are we drafting for what we think they should do or what we think they will do?
We should do should.
Should.
Yeah, let's do
what
should.
we'll do with should. Oh, Ben, I had a second question, and I already forgot it.
Second question: are you ready to draft?
Yeah, are you ready to draft? Okay, I guess then for the Hawks, do we want to go with Clingan? Because I feel like that's where all of us had it a second ago.
Yeah.
I'm
I
with
feel
it.
like that's
Yeah.
the most.
Oh, this is what I was going to
place.
ask. My bad. This is great podcasting. What? Okay, if you were a GM of the Hawks and the Wizards, just theoretically, would you rather take the high floor safer pick in a draft like this, where you feel pretty confident that okay, maybe we don't even have this guy in 5 years, but maybe we just trade him because he's just productive, or would you rather go for a swing for the fences guy?
I think it depends on the franchise. Like I think if I'm Atlanta, specifically Atlanta, and I'm trying to compete because I have a pseudo superstar in Trae Young, that I'm trying to compete. And I think I'd take the safer pick, knowing that he can help me right away.
With the
Washington,
Wizards,
that whole team. If anybody on this team right now is here 5 years, I'd be shocked. Besides this pick and like Bilal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely go with the safer thing as well. And I'm a Trae Young guy. I like Trae Young. I think he's great for their franchise.
He's a fraud.
I would want to pick someone that I can see really, really excelling next to a guy like Trae
I think
Young.
you might be alone on the Trae Young.
He's a fraud, bro. He is a fraud.
Hey, any guy that I've seen like really be able to do it in the playoffs, I just can't get that out of my head.
My just thing with Trae Young is I don't remember the exact number, but when I looked up like the amount of shots they allow at the rim when he's on the court just skyrockets, and it's just I'm just like even if he is full effort, I just don't think he'll ever be a defend. He's never going to be better than a traffic cone.
Which is crazy because everybody used to compare him to Steph, and Steph is like not a terrible defender anymore.
Yeah. All right. So officially, our foul trouble first overall pick is Donovan Clingan.
Donovan Clingan.
Donovan Clingan. Okay.
Donovan, the man. Okay, that brings us to the saddest place in the NBA, Washington, D.C. What are we thinking? What should the
saddest place.
Wizards be targeting here?
Well, they traded away Gafford. They lost Porzingis. I think they need to get a big, not just for the current team, but just for the future. I think this is where you see Sarr go.
See, for me, I feel like I agree with Neal that nothing's nailed down. And this is the place where I would target my favorite guy in the draft, who is Reed Shepherd.
Oh, that's not where I was going to go. I agree with you that they need a big. I think you could go Sarr there. I also see a world where they give in to the needs and the demands of Stephon Castle and put him at the lead guard.
Okay, very
Yeah,
interesting.
I think the Wizards, because they're basically a blank slate,
You can go
could go
whatever
anywhere.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so here's my pitch for Reed Shepherd.
Yeah.
Let me just throw it out there. So this is a guy shot 52% from three last year. Obviously, that's not going to sustain throughout his career. But if that goes down 10 percentage points, I'm feeling really good. Can shoot off movement, can pull up, can shoot off the catch. Like just about as elite of a shooter as it gets. I don't really see him as like a true lead guard. But I get like even Mark Pricey like vibes from him. Mark Price was never like a huge assist guy, but played next to Ron Harper, like really comfortable playing next to another ball handler, which I love. And this dude can jump out of the gym. 42-inch vertical, really 6'3", 182 pounds, like not terrible.
Yeah.
Frame-wise, still a really young guy. I just like... He's my favorite guard in the draft. Super like modern NBA player. And I feel could give like for a team that really needs shooting, really needs like someone to just streamline their game. I would love Reed Shepherd in an area like this, but there's a lot of needs on this team.
Yeah, I guess the Wizards shooting is what Corey Kispert.
Denny kind of now. He shot like 38 from three the last half of the season, I believe.
Yeah,
But Kispert's really like the guy that
Kispert is definitely their go-to. So they do have that go-to shooter. He's more of that 2-3 tweener type. And I guess Shepherd could slot in there.
The problem with Shepherd, this goes back to like why I have not necessarily an issue with Shepherd. Shepherd's a connector, right? If you're trying to compete right now, Reed Shepherd's going to come in day one. He's going to help you. I'm not saying that's not what Washington wants, but Washington wants. You don't think Washington wants the guy that could be 5 years from now, like an Alex Sarr, who is the
Well,
like
I think
elite
the problem
star.
for the Wizards, and this is how I'm already thinking about it for the Wizards, is like next year you're just hoping you get one of like Cooper, Bailey, or Harper, and that's
Yeah.
the guy you build around. And I think what's nice about a Reed Shepherd here is that guy can play next to any of those other three guys.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And like hypothetically, so can Sarr.
Yeah.
I guess that's the thing. Would you rather kind of? It's almost like in football. Do you want to draft the O lineman now, or the
quarterback?
or the maybe franchise
Yeah.
quarterback?
Yeah, that's actually a
is
really.
a good
It's
comp.
kind of like if you need a quarterback at like pick 8,
Yeah.
and it's like, are you in love with this guy?
Talk me into Shepard because I think
I know,
if
I
I'm the
didn't expect
Wizards, I'd rather build a nice environment for the real guy who's in next year's draft instead of rolling the dice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with that because, like I said, I think even like Stephon Castle and Sarr, there are definitely question marks around certain parts of the game. And Reed, I mean, sure, he's a questionable defender, but it's not because of lack of effort.
Yeah, and the thing with Castle is like I see the Castle thing as well, but like talking about getting an Ace Bailey, getting a Cooper Flag next year, it's like what is going to make it really comfortable for that guy?
Yeah.
Having a great defense to play like within or having shooting so like you can kind of make more mistakes on offense.
Yeah, you have more freedom. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's so tough with the Wizards, right? Because like they draft Reed Shepherd and if defense is questionable. Like I don't think Kispert's ever going to profile as a great defender. That's the only thing I'm a little worried about is if you ask like, okay, Cooper Flag, come in here. You have great shooting around you, but at the same time, you guys are just allowing a million shots at the rim. And because they took Shepherd instead of Sarr last year, you also have no rim protection.
Yeah.
Which isn't a really good environment. I think the Wizards have such a culture problem, and this is kind of the problem. No matter what pick they do take, they have a hole. So, you know what? Actually, I don't know. I think maybe they should take Sarr.
I just, it's such a tough situation, like you said. I also just think, I don't know how to just, like, Reed's a dog, but he, like you said, he's not really a lead guard. He doesn't
That
profile
also
as
is
that.
like a thing for Castle is kind of the culture.
No, Castle's a dog,
Dude.
I think
Yeah.
I think Reed's a dog too. Like I watched a lot of Kentucky, and he is an absolute menace on the ball, and he can shoot the hell out of it. But Castle just like the wingspan, he flustered the hell out of all the guards in that tournament run. Like his whole job was I'm gonna.
Yeah, and
the
I
whole
think the
94
Wizards
feet.
need some nasty.
Yeah.
Like they really need someone because I feel like right now you got like Poole and Kuzma, and it's like the goofball museum.
Yeah.
Like every game, and like
It's
they
the
need
Harlem
like
Globetrotters.
an asshole on their team.
Yeah.
So who are you going with, Neal?
If I had to make that pick, I'm probably gonna go Castle, but I don't mind this.
I think what's nice about Castle is if in next year's draft, you probably compare him pretty well with anybody but Harper and feel pretty good about it.
I'll go Castle. I'm comfortable Castle. I feel like it's also like gives the Wizards will also give him an opportunity to be like, let's see what you got from point guard perspective. And like, if that doesn't work out, it doesn't matter. We're not trying to win games.
I also think him or Collier have the highest ceiling as guards. I think Reed, he'll just continue to improve what he's good at. So I think Castle gives you the highest like ceiling at the guard spot.
Wow. Okay. So both UConn guys, 1 and 2.
UConn guys 1 and 2.
Shout out to college basketball. We're done with overseas.
And now we are at the Rockets.
This is the weird team because they have no need. Kinda.
Yeah,
They don't really have like a strong need. Like they have a good switchable big, with Jabari who can offer some rim protection. They have that post, hub player. They have a dynamic scoring wing. They've got shooting at the guard position. I mean, the Rockets are in this weird team where it's like they don't have a necessarily need, but they're not also title contenders yet.
And I think you could go anywhere. I think you could go Reed, Risacher or Sarr, and there's no real bad spot on that for them.
I love Reed here. I feel like he could very easily grow into the Fred VanVleet role here. And with Amen, there's so much like ball handling
Holy cow.
that like
I love the Rockets, dude.
Amen's gonna be
You
able
were
to
high on him all year.
I love
it's
this
true.
Rockets team.
Do you think you could put Jabari Smith at the 3, or do you think he's not good enough to play there?
I think the problem with Jabari at the 3 is he doesn't have enough of an in-between game.
In terms of like the mid range?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I don't know
agree
if
with
I
that, too.
love him driving toward the basket if there's already 2 other big men taking up space down there.
Is he enough of a passer to?
Yeah.
Okay. Damn, because that was the reason I was a leading question because I was like, damn, maybe Sarr would be a massive front court between him, Şengün and like Alex.
I love Sarr next to Şengün,
I
to be
know,
honest.
but I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
what do you do with Jabari?
The
Smith?
Rockets' big question is obviously like clarity about roles
Yeah.
because it was like Şengün's team, but then obviously they had a softball of a schedule when Jalen Green was going off and they couldn't lose a game, but
Yeah.
still, like for a young team to win 10 straight, regardless of schedule, I think is impressive. And like, I don't know, it's almost like the Rockets. It's like we just need one more season of like, okay, can Jalen Green get like an efficiency bump?
While Şengün is playing next to him.
Yeah, it should be easy with Şengün playing next to you. But I will say, I feel like Şengün this last season did kind of dial his like passing to shooting ratio a little bit more towards scoring than it was in previous seasons.
It's true. That's true.
Yeah, I mean,
So major trade down candidate with the
Oh,
Rockets.
absolutely. I don't think
Major
they
trade down.
I don't think they take this pick. I don't know what you traded for. but I don't think they make this
would you
pick.
go like kind of like would you go like pure upside pick here? Maybe even take like a Collier, or would you just be like, you know what, we'll take Reed Shepherd and just know that we'll probably move on from Van Vliet at some point. We'll probably consolidate maybe some other of our players. Like they need to have guys like Tari Eason too. So that's the problem. If you can't really just take in a Zaccharie Risacher and be like, okay, you're gonna play. Like I don't know if he'll play on this team.
Yeah, no, I think this is a team. I think if
It's
you're
hard to
taking-
picture anyone in this draft actually getting minutes on this team.
I think if you're taking a guard, you're taking him with him like Reed to take over for Fred VanVleet in the next 2-3 years. Like that's the goal of it. But I think,
But then the Amen Thompson.
yeah, you have. And it's like, do you think either? Well, Reed could. To me, I would give Amen Thompson the ball if I take Reed. Put Reed at 2.
Yeah,
And I would just move
I
people
love that
down.
read on
Yeah,
men
But then what
idea.
happens with Jalen Green?
I don't know if
Because that's the problem is if you
Yeah.
trade Jalen Green, then the guy you're trading him for needs a
still gonna
spot
take-
too. Yeah, so that's the
You're
weird problem
trading
with the Rockets
Jalen
is
Green and Jabari Smith for Giannis.
The Rockets
That would
are
be-
like kind of where the 2012 Rockets were, where they're kind of waiting for like a James Harden to show up so they can be like, here's 4 pretty good players for the 1-star player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if you're making a trade just in general for the Rockets, it probably has to be consolidation.
Yeah,
Just
it
try
has to
get
be a
someone
consolidation
like a 3
trade,
for 1
yeah.
or a 2 for 1, just to open up spots. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like we keep talking about this is a team that I think probably trades down.
Yeah.
But if I'm taking, damn, I almost like
We can do a mock trade. Who would trade up for one of these guys?
that's also the problem.
Who
know
I
the
would
trade down.
highlight is I like the Blazers with 7 and 14, cashing in and going up if they're in love with. I think even like a Sarr could maybe work.
But here's
there.
the problem with that is like, if I don't know who I want at 3, if I'm the Rockets, why the hell do I want 2 more picks at 7 and 14? To me, if I'm making if that's a trade, I'm trading for players.
Yeah. All right. So let's just mock someone to the Rockets. I think Reed Shepherd's the name we've talked about.
Yeah.
I think Sarr also is a possibility here because I think if we've learned anything from the Timberwolves is it doesn't hurt to have that really quality third big.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. I'm voting Reed. I just think
I'm going to vote for Sarr.
makes sense.
I want to go for Sarr too. I think
Okay.
the jumbo
We'll
front
go
court is
Sarr.
awesome.
Yeah, the jumbo front court. Yeah, I like too because if Şengün gets hurt or Jabari gets hurt, I kind of like that they have.
This draft set up so well for the Spurs.
Oh my god.
This draft set up so well for the Spurs where we did this.
So I think Reed Shepherd is the pick here for the Spurs. Right?
I think it's not
Yeah,
even a debate.
it's gotta be.
It's
Yeah,
gotta
okay.
be.
We've talked about it so much. I mean, the shooting next to Wembanyama makes so much sense. Wembanyama takes away every defensive concern.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it with him.
Yeah, it's right there for him.
Okay, and at 5 we have
Detroit.
Detroit. Poor Detroit.
This is such a sad. I don't even know. Again, what's weird is Detroit seems like another one of those teams that like they've invested so much capital into this team and they still suck.
So number one thing, it's kind of weird with Detroit, a team that just set the all-time like losing streak record. They fired their coach yesterday after your season's been done for 2 months.
They fired their coach 1 year into a 6-year contract.
Yeah, so obviously not the most stable franchise, and with franchises like that, you usually always pick for best player available. In my opinion, the Pistons are not in a position to do that. You have to pick a shooter here. And
Do you think because they have the new GM and they're going to have a new head coach that nothing is off the table in terms of like even Cade, like maybe they're not in love with Cade as their guy, so like go get a guy.
I think Cade's probably off the table, but other than that,
What I'm worried about for the Pistons as a franchise is that I think what we've seen is Tom Gores is a pretty bad owner.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't around for the 04 Pistons. He's post 04 Pistons. So there's no track record of success with this guy. And I feel like this was the first season where like Pistons angst about Tom Gores became like a national thing. Because,
Yeah.
you know, like with Sarver and the Phoenix Suns, it was kind of like something every NBA fan knew,
Yeah.
like, oh, wow, Sarver sucks. But I feel like this was the first year that every NBA fan was like, oh, wow, Tom Gorse sucks.
Yeah.
So I'm a little worried for the Pistons as a franchise is we're going to get the like quick Band-Aid fix to make the team a lot better really quickly. Like I could see the really big Tobias Harris contract. It kind of seems like the writing's on the wall for that.
Yeah.
I like Risacher here. Just another, like, get another wing in there, one that can really shoot. Space the floor a little bit for Asur and, like, Jalen Duren and all the questionable shooters. Or, yeah, I don't know. If you believe in Matas's shooting,
Yeah.
which I don't know why you would, but I really like him as a prospect. But
They
I
were
need
playing
the
a
shooting.
Sarr at the 3 a lot.
Yeah.
They're a weird team.
They have a lot of guards.
They have a lot of bigs.
They have a lot of. When it's crazy, they have a lot of stuff, and they're still terrible.
Yeah. I mean, I think Duren and Cade are the two guys that you're really like, okay.
Yeah. Well, and I think with a guy like Risacher, you're basically growing into this giant team. You have Cade at the point. You have Asur running around on the wing, Risacher on the wing. Asur can guard pretty much 1 through 4.
Yeah.
And then you've got Duren down low, which is just your like true big.
Yeah, like a rock.
And I feel like you're starting to make a little bit of an identity for yourself there.
How is Risacher as like a connective passer though? Because he has pretty low assist numbers.
From what I've seen, he is like that's as a passer. That's what he's like. That's where his ceiling is. Like he is a connective passer. He's not going to be someone that's making like incredible passes off the dribble.
Yeah, because I guess my only worry is I just don't want to insulate Cade with all these guys. I mean, obviously, Sarr is an amazing passer, but you know, with his shooting limitations, it's and the way they used him was weird. Maybe with a new coach, they'll use Sarr so differently. But my only worry is if they're like accidentally molding Cade into this like Harden Luka type of ball situation. Whereas I don't think that's the best version of him.
Yeah, I hear that. Another guy that I think could be good here is Dalton Connect. I mean, I think he's like a real 3-level scorer. I don't love his size, but
I just think like you said, it depends on how you want to take this pick. If I want a Band-Aid, I'm gonna go Dalton Connect. Like if I want someone that's gonna come and help me right now, help me win 25 games, yeah, Dalton Connect's my guy. But if I want like a higher upside pick, I'm going Risacher. If I really want to reach, I'm going Matas. At this point, I think in terms of like the best player available, it's either Risacher or Rob Dillingham. But you don't take Rob Dillingham with Cade if you really think Cade's your guy.
Yeah, I think we should go Risacher here.
I'm with that. Yeah.
yeah, I'm with that.
I'm with Risacher.
You guys are idiots. Risacher went number 1.
So then it's Charlotte, correct?
Charlotte. Okay.
This is another team that it feels like they have a bunch of guys and they're just kind of waiting for them to hopefully come together.
This is another team I think Patrick and I really disagree on. I would trade LaMelo and just draft a point guard here.
What would you go, Rob Dillingham at this point? Rob with the shifts?
I think so. I don't know. I'm a little worried about Charlotte as a team and direction because I think Brandon Miller has a lot of potential, but like I think he will top out as like a Paul George, maybe sub Paul George. I mean, dude, to be as good as Paul George is really tough.
Yeah, he's a top 25 player in the league, and at his peak, top 10.
Yeah, and I just don't love LaMelo's defense and finishing at the rim, and I'm just like, what does this team top out as? Like a 7 seed?
With LaMelo leading it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Depends on
in the
Brandon
East,
Miller.
In the East.
But that's what I'm saying. If Brandon Miller tops out, like, does the team top out as a 7 seed?
I mean, I think
Like, I can't even imagine that team being better than like this year's Pacers.
which is weird because they profile very similar.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can because I am optimistic about LaMelo's defense. I think LaMelo is gigantic.
Yeah.
You don't find guys that like are big, can shoot, and just like are primary ball handlers like that. And I know it's been such an unserious, weird team for so long. And
They're another culture team.
like that does
they have
have
a
to
horrible
do
culture.
Like I think Castle is kind of the perfect guy here who's already
That's what I
gone
was
in
going
this.
to say, Castle.
But my guy, honestly, one of my guys in this draft who I like way better than Dillingham and I think could be a really good fit here. It might be a little bit of a reach, but Devin Carter. I am a huge Devin Carter guy. This is a dude, he can jump out of the gym, amazing rebounder, is like a true point guard and can shoot the ball. And he's just like a dog. Like you watch him at Providence, like you can just tell how much like he energizes a fan base. And I just kind of believe in him being able to exist as like a starter a little bit more than Dillingham.
He's one of those guys that like he's gonna come in and he's especially gonna help you day one. Like he's a junior. The shooting, Devin Carter made his name this year because of the shooting, but there's a reason he's a junior, right? The shooting, the shooting didn't. This is the first season we saw the shooting. I think he was like 33 on threes, catch and shoot threes his first 2 years. I think now it's like I think it was 38 or 39, which is much better. But how much do you believe in that? In the sense of like, was it just a hell of a season?
Yeah, I don't know. Charlotte's another one of those weird teams to me though, where even if you're as high on them as Patrick or as low on them as me, like I feel like you still feel like I don't know, getting someone who instantly helps them, and if they I think them making the plan could be really bad for them long term.
Because
I think they still need to get their true number one guy.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if LaMelo or Brandon, but you're not going to get a number one guy in this
You're
draft.
not going to get a number one guy in this draft, so I feel like they should take a project player.
So someone like a Risacher. We
just sent Risacher off.
Buzelis then. What do you think about Buzelis?
So I actually was really surprised by Buzelis. Like struck me as kind of like a hustle big in a way that I didn't think. Like the jump shot, the stats aren't there. He gets into it really well, but it never goes in.
Yeah.
But like his athleticism really jumps off the screen. His finishing, like he can really like put down some very impressive like dunks in transition and whatnot. And I like his like kind of switchability.
So it's like clean image Miles Bridges.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, on a diet.
God.
If Miles Bridges was on like Ozempic.
No way, Ozempic.
Ozempic Miles Bridges is his player comp.
Yeah. Another guy here, I think I'm going to bring him up again. Dalton Connect,
man.
I think could fit here. The one thing I don't like about Dalton Connect is his size. He's like more of like a 6'6" guy.
Yeah.
And I think on this Hornets team doesn't matter as much.
Yeah.
And then you have just like so much scoring, hypothetically.
Yeah, in theory. Yeah, they're in a weird spot too. This is a weird team.
They're one of the weirdest teams in the NBA right now, I feel like.
Do you think you could make a pick and just go best player available and not necessarily worry about overlapping? Because I mean, even if you don't think LaMelo's like your guy, he can still play off the ball and like have a ball handler.
Definitely. I mean, that's the other thing about LaMelo is I feel like he does have positional versatility.
Yeah.
And like you can put a guard next to him, you can put more wings next to him. Doesn't really matter about that. I mean,
Damn. Who would you go with?
I mean, I would go with Carter. Like, I just think he's like a culture guy. I love the rebounding. If the shooting is real, like that is a backcourt mate for
this team feels like yeah, I mean, I think a culture pick is a smart pick. Like this is obviously I'm not comparing them as skill players, but this team feels like they desperately need their version of Ant.
Yeah.
Like a guy who's going to come in and even though he's younger, be like, bro, y'all got to step like,
You gotta figure it out.
you all got to grow up.
I wrote down Devin Carter is like Jose Alvarado if he was infected with venom, like the like
Spider-Man thing.
No, Devin Carter's a bulldog, and like that's.
But you can also go with like Tijan Salon if you really want to just like roll the dice on like a really high upside big. I don't know if I believe in the shooting, but boy is he confident shooting, and he has great measurables.
I'm cool going with the
You talked me into Devin Carter. I was not expecting Carter. To go that high.
Let's fucking go.
Where did I have him? Oh, I had him way lower.
That is like one of my guys for this draft.
Really? I wrote him into Utah at like 11 or whenever Utah picked.
So
12.
we've got Portland now. So Portland is like such a weird team because they draft Scoot, and Scoot is pretty bad from start to finish. He's a little better as the season, but it's like marginally better.
Yeah.
You've got Anthony Simons, who's a great 2-guard. I feel like Anthony Simons is going to be playing for a contender by the end of the season.
Yep.
Orlando. You've got DeAndre Ayton, who I feel like they probably are kind of about as a long-term pick. I mean, it just feels like other than Scoot, no one on this team is going to be around. Oh, sorry, they do have. I always forget the name of the super athletic. Yeah, Shaedon Sharp will probably be around, but. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is where if you're Portland, you just take, all right, who do we think is the highest upside? Let's just take him and refocus on next year's draft. Unless they're like, okay, maybe we'll try to do what I pitched for the Wizards, which is just get the guys you think can play a good role player.
If I'm if you're going just best player available, this is where I'd swing on Tajon Salon.
Yeah.
Another Frenchman.
Another Frenchman.
The Frenchman, I feel like
I like
not many
Buzelis
people have
here
heard about.
too.
Yeah, that's
I
him.
think that's like a pretty clean fit. I don't know if Salon and DA could really two not like smart players. I would say.
I think that's the whole problem with the Portland has like 3 or 4 vets and Jeremy Grant, Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams that are just like they need to get out of there. Like it's not. And then you have all these young guys that they just don't. Outside of Simons, they don't fit.
Yeah.
Like Simons to me is the only young guy that really I feel like he could help a contender right now.
Yeah.
Shaden Sharp's too much of a project. Scoot, just objectively not that good.
Yeah.
And then Ayton's a moron. Like Ayton is he's not going anywhere.
I feel like if you're Portland, you just say, all right, who do we think can maybe scratch an NBA All-Star team at some point?
Yeah.
So you go highest. Who would you say? Who do you think has the highest ceiling at this point? Do you think it's Salon or do you think it's?
I'm not a Salon guy.
Yeah.
A lot of people are. Like I was listening to the Ringer draft show. Tate Frazier had Salon first.
Jesus.
He's like has such a wide range in like draft.
Yeah.
Is this
Place.
the modern day? Who's the guard who played for Detroit?
Darko.
No, the guard. That the Ringer had number 1.
Killian.
Oh my God.
They keep falling for these French guys.
I would go
They're all
Buzelis
frauds.
here, but like you could talk me into Salon, you could talk me into Connect. I could see them. Ron Holland is a very like Trailblazers pick.
Yeah. I wouldn't go Connect. I think he has too low of a ceiling. I think he's one of the guys that if I'm bringing him in, I'm bringing him in to help me right now. And if I'm Portland, I'm not trying to win right now. And if you are, you're a fool.
Yeah.
I would go Buzelis.
Yeah.
I'm with Buzelis.
Yeah. Buzelis there.
Okay, San Antonio again.
Wow. Okay, so who do we have?
We went with Reed. Is this genuinely a situation where you think Reed is your 2 and you go draft Topic? Like actually, and go 1-2?
I just feel like Topic is going to end up on the Spurs some way or another.
Like if I told you, like, could you see a Topic Reed backcourt?
I think they complement each other
and that's
very
I
well.
think defensively that's tough, but you also have
And I think for all of Topic's limitations, like what Victor showed us last season was when he played with I'm not good with names this morning. Jones, when he played with Trey Jones, who isn't a great shooter.
Yep.
But when he plays with the one guy who can just pass him the ball at a somewhat competent level, he's just supercharged. And we know Topic will be able to pass him the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I do kind of want to surround. There's 2 things that I want to surround Wemby with. One is shooting, obviously. The other one is defense. Okay. And Topic doesn't really do either of those things for me.
I think Topic, I don't know, with the wingspan stuff, I'm a little... He is tall, though. He is 6'7".
He is big, but I feel like it's kind of like a Josh Giddey-esque kind of thing.
That's an interesting pick. For him, I comped him as like more Goran Dragic. I know that's pretty easy to comp.
Yeah, but like a gigantic Goran Dragic.
If he could get like 80% of Goran Dragic's jump shooting ability, this is a home run draft pick.
Oh, totally.
I would go Topic. I just think for the Spurs, I think the most important thing to surround Wemby with is passing.
Yeah. And I think Reed's a good connective pass, but I don't think he's like a lead ball handler.
Yeah, I think you bring in 2 new guards who actually can pass the ball. I mean, I think it's going to help Vassell too to play with these guys. I think that Vassell's always the forgotten part of the Spurs, where it's like they've kind of really just done everything to not help him out.
Yeah, and he's still figured it out, like in spite of it all.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
I'll throw 2 other names in there. Like I do think you could go Salon here.
Yeah.
That's like if Salon's jumper is real, that just makes this like incredibly large, incredibly athletic, incredibly French front court.
He's just like he's like a smaller Wemby. He really does profile. If he fills out everything he can do, he's just like an alternate Wemby.
I think the Spurs are in a tough place though, because Wemby's looking like one of these Luka LeBron level guys where it's like once they make the playoffs once it's done, they're never touching the lottery again. But like I don't know, man. Like I don't think you can go to Wemby and be like, hey, we're gonna run Jeremy Sohan at point guard again, bro. Have fun. Like you just can't do that as a franchise.
I would just rather they address point guard in
free agency
in trades.
See, but I'm worried that they're going to do that and go get Trae Young. That's what I'm worried about.
Trae Young is like, I feel like this is the one team where I'm a lot more okay with him being on. But yeah, I don't know. I think they should take Topic here.
Yeah, I'm with the Topic pick.
All right, let's do it. Let's pen him in.
Because I think even if you make the Trae Young trade, like it's not like we're expecting Topic to come in and solve all of their problems.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
anyone we were going to pick here, because that's the thing with this draft. None of these guys are stars.
All right, one of the weirder teams in the lottery, Memphis. They kind of have everything, but what do they want to address?
You need a wing.
Rim protection.
2 or
rim
3.
protection.
Really?
They lost Steven Adams.
Yeah.
They fell apart 2 years ago as the 2 seed once Steven Adams got hurt. Their offensive rebounding rate went down. Their defense went down. That sneakily, Steven Adams was such an important part of their team. They play the Lakers in the playoffs to get fucking destroyed by Anthony Davis. They have nothing at the rim.
I agree with all that, but I guess to me it's more like who are you going to take here that's going to address that? You going to go Edey? You know what I mean? Like
I don't know if you're going to go Edey and then expect Edey to play huge minutes right away.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, is there a center at this point, or a 4 even, that we could put in there that's going to be a rim protector of the future?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, tall guys at this part, we've got like a Tijan who's 6'10". We've got there's not a lot. You got Edey obviously who's massive.
I'm a
You've
huge
got a
Edey
Kel'el
guy,
Ware 7'1".
Kel'el Ware.
He
A Kyle Filipowski.
None of these guys are rim protectors. That's the problem. Kel'el Ware is like, think of like Robert Williams. I mean, Robert Williams is a good rim protector, but more of like the lanky rim protector, like a Nick Claxton. That's how Kel'el Ware projects.
Kel'el Ware also, from what I've heard, is like there's some like questions about his like give a fuck.
Yeah, motor.
And that's very not Grizzlies.
Well, I think for the Grizzlies, though, the other one thing is their half-court offense historically has not been good. This has been a defense and transition team, and that's how they found success. So why not take a guy who can create in the half-court, maybe a little bit more like a Dalton Connect?
Yeah,
especially because I think Memphis is like, hey, we're going to go right back to being the 2 seed. That's what we want to do.
I mean, what was the big move that they made last offseason was they got Marcus Smart and then they got Derrick Rose. I think this would be a cool place to look for like the backup point guard of the future as well. If like maybe like a Rob Dillingham could fit here. I don't know what you think about that. I don't know. I'm not an expert on Rob Dillingham at all.
I guess they could start. Yeah, draft a guard shooter type and start him next to Ja. I don't know if I love Ja, Marcus Smart as my starting guards.
I don't. Well, Desmond Bane. This is
Bane. I'm dumb.
This is what I no. Well, this is what I would do. I'm going Cody Williams, and I'm putting Cody because Cody Williams is 6'8". I'm putting him at 3. I'm going Ja, Desmond Bane, Cody Williams, and then Jaren and whoever you find out in center. That's I mean, to me, Cody Williams, he projects very similarly to Jalen Williams. I know it's an easy comp, but very similar rises in college. They long rangey wing, has a decent jump shot, needs to just kind of continue to develop his own game. But what better way to do that than like filling gaps right now and then slowly but surely like adding pieces on.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. The only thing for Memphis, I want a guy who can contribute right now.
You don't think Cody Williams can contribute right now?
I mean, I feel like if you're a freshman getting drafted 10th in this draft class, I don't think that's what that means.
I think he needs to evolve more physically.
Yes.
To be ready.
Yeah, he's got to put weight on for sure.
You kind of talked me into the Connect thing. I kind of like the idea of just like it's like a supercharged Luke Kennard.
I think if you're if anybody's going to draft to like it makes sense for Memphis to draft someone right now.
And it's also Tennessee.
Yeah.
Tennessee.
No, I don't hate the. What's funny is I had Connect at the time at 14. I thought he was going to slip, but yeah, I have Connect. The Connect here is fine.
Let's do it.
Let's go Connect.
I had already connected.
All right, we got Utah. This is another. I feel like the top of the draft is a lot of these weird teams, but I think that also might be where the NBA is heading, where it's like even the bad teams are just filled with talented players, and you're like,
Yeah.
The NBA is so talented now.
What they need is a point guard. We saw last year when they lost Mike Conley, they fell off a cliff, and even this year they really didn't address it. Keontae George was there in spurts. Clarkson was a pseudo point guard, but it's like that to me is you need a lead guard and put someone next to Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah, or if you're Utah, I mean, like just like talking about the prospects in general going forward though, like are any of these guys that were like this is going to be their starter for like when they eventually want to be a championship contender?
Probably not. Rob Dillingham has a high ceiling.
Don't think about it in that framework as much anymore.
Yeah, I mean for Utah, I feel like best player available here, highest ceiling. I think either one of those.
Yeah, which would be a very Danny Ainge pick.
Yeah, so like honestly, I think Salon here makes sense to me. We saw them go and get John Collins, and I feel like that is actually probably like a realistic outcome for what Salon could be, and obviously the ceiling's way higher. Ron Holland, like super defensive guy. We've seen that Utah really likes those guys that can put their teeth in on the defensive side. Who knows? what that ends up being like. He also has a lot of Colin Sexton in him on offense.
My issue with even thinking about how someone like works with this Jazz team is I don't think a single player on the Jazz right now is going to be around in like 6 years.
Yeah.
No, totally.
Which is like why it's a little like, and even with this draft, if we're projecting none of these guys are going to be stars, and the way Danny Ainge is willing to just fling players in trades, it's so hard to even imagine like what Utah. Like I don't even think Markkanen's going to be there at the end of the season.
So then, do you just take best player available?
And-
Because he has the highest trade value theoretically, and whoever that like player is.
Yeah, or do you just fling like a Collier and be like maybe he projects what he was supposed to be?
So if we're going guard, I have a different high ceiling guard.
Who?
Bub Carrington.
Interesting.
You a Bub Carrington guy?
I mean, I watched him a little bit at
6'5", super young guard. The efficiency like waxed and waned, but I am a believer in the jump shot. And
he had to do everything.
I think he can play on and off ball. I think he is electric on offense. I would love to see them like really give the keys to someone like that.
Yeah, he had to do everything at Pitt. Like there was no help there. So like the efficiency, like remember when Cole Anthony was at UNC and there was the one year that they really didn't have anything and he had to do.
He looked awful.
That's the same, very similar situation for Carrington.
So,
I mean, I like Carrington, but I also think if you're going to go for a guard like that, I go Rob. Just because
Rob.
I've seen Rob do it at a much higher stage.
Yeah. And realistically, Rob Dillingham might be the best shooter in this class.
Especially
when
off
it's
the
all said and
dribble.
done.
Especially off the dribble. He's
I like taking off the dribble shooters.
Rob Dillingham is literally, his comp is Lou Will, Jamal Crawford, like guards like that. Like Bones Highland, guards that are going to come in and they're just going to spark plug you.
My worry, I don't like his frame.
No, not at all. No,
and, like I hear like Malik Monk, and like, is he an athlete? Like Malik Monk?
My
He's an
only
athlete.
worry is when you tell me I'm pairing Bones Highland with Jordan Clarkson. Are we like Wizards West?
Yes.
but he's also like, I don't like, he can't, like, it's tough to like describe it like this, but like it's not like he's a turnstile on defense, but it's not because of lack of effort. Like he really does care. It's just like, what are you gonna do when you're 6'1", a buck 80, soaking wet?
Yeah.
Like it is what it is.
So you're saying Dillingham?
Yeah, everyone best.
Did we sway you anyway?
I guess we can go Dillingham. Yeah. I don't know. This is just like the weird part of the draft with Utah. I'm like, okay.
I feel like in drafts of old, like you would see teams like they were terrible and they'd go draft their franchise guy. And the next year they'd be, instead of 1, they were like, let's say 5, and they'd go get a second guy.
Yeah.
And the next year they're 10, and they go get like a guy that can complement those two. And then, they're a playoff team. But now it seems like all these teams have been doing this for like 6 years, and they've just accumulated all these like the Jazz have accumulated like 3 straight 10th overall picks, and it's like they haven't done anything with it.
Yeah. They're all second draft.
Exactly. And it's like they have all these like tier 3 guys.
Yeah, and I mean it's also weird just looking backward. Like Detroit had an all-time tank job, and they land outside the top 4. San Antonio, like they're such a swing team because you could tell me they're in the lottery again next year, or they're a playoff team depending on how their offseason goes. I mean, the Wizards are probably going to be right back in this top 2 next year. I wouldn't be surprised.
And another team that we see back in the back in the lottery, Neal,
Chicago Bulls.
Chicago Bulls. What are we thinking here?
The highest upside. You can't. I mean, at this point, you can't. They're going to run it back again next year, and they're going to run back Levine and DeRozan and all this other stuff, but they shouldn't. So knowing them, they're going to take someone. If Connect falls, this is who they're going to take. They're going to take Connect if he falls to 11.
Okay,
But
I like that for them.
At this point, for us, if I'm drafting on need,
Yes,
need
I will give you
everything.
full GM responsibilities
Holland.
here.
I'm drafting Holland or Collier. I need some. At this point, just take a swing for the fences. You know what I mean? Like, who else? Nobody on this team is going to be a 1A guy.
See, it's tough because this is another team where I like, if there's one thing I think the Bulls need, both going forward and if they want to win now, is rim protection. Because every time you guys play Philly or Milwaukee, it's a fucking bloodbath.
Yeah, but also, like, who are you going to, again?
Who are you going to take? And that's the problem. Is there's no Derek Lively sitting there at 18 for you to go snag.
That's 11. But,
yeah.
Like, am I going to go get Edie? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to draft
Kello
Edie.
Ware, that's an upside pick.
Yeah, I don't mind the Kello Ware pick. I think at this point, I'm shooting for like the single. Like, if the single highest pick, the single highest ceiling out of any of these guys is to me is Ron Holland or Isaiah Collier.
What is the least logical pick the Bulls could make?
At this point,
Yeah.
it's any senior. Like,
Okay, so that's probably
So
who they're gonna
Tristan
take.
De Silva?
Yeah, Tristan De Silva.
why don't we give them Tristan De Silva.
Yeah, he would be such a bad pick. I mean, like him or
What about Cody Williams?
Cody Williams would be another guy. Yeah, I don't mind the Cody Williams pick. I think
I'll let you make the pick here.
I will also give you.
so. It's going to be between Cody Williams Cody Williams, Ron Holland, or Isaiah Collier. I think Cody Williams doesn't have the higher ceiling that Ron Holland does, but I think Cody Williams is a much safer bet to hit whatever that theoretical ceiling is than someone like Ron Holland. So I would go Cody Williams here if I was the Bulls.
Okay.
Let's pencil it in.
I don't know why. Every time I see the Buffalo, Colorado Buffalo's logo, it's like impossible for me to not think about their football team at this point. It's like, oh wait, they play basketball too.
They were good this year, yeah.
And, it's actually perfect that Cody Williams goes here because coming up next is the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Good.
And it's like, I feel like this always happens of like when there's brothers in the draft, the pick before the brother gets taken.
You know what's weird? This is a team, they only have one pick of this whole draft, which is weird because I know they talk about having 1,000 picks. This is a team I could see sneakily go grab Edie.
Oh, yeah. I love Edie for this.
See, this is my only problem, though, because I've seen a lot of Edie here, is I just feel like if Sam Presti's like, okay, we're going to solve the big rebounding rim protection issue with Zach Edey, I don't hate it. It's kind of like with what we talked about with Derek Lively last year, is like you're making a real gamble with when your plug to fix this major issue is a rookie. And I think that's what I'm a little afraid of for OKC is like, you guys are still going to need, I feel like you're still going to need to make the trade for the real guy.
But you're not, I don't think you're drafting Edie for him to be your starting center.
No.
Chet.
But I guess I'm just worried is Edie going to be able to play? Well, I guess it's going to be hard. This is another team. It's going to be like the Rockets.
Yes.
It's going to be so hard to get minutes for whoever they draft.
Do you think this is a situation where, like the Grizzlies, Jaren Jackson Jr. is like their 4, but theoretically, in theory, he should be their 5 when you close games. But the offensive rebounding aspect of it helps them so much. Do you think that is a similar comp for this Thunder team where you put Edie there next to Chet?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's hard about the Thunder is I don't know if they have anyone who's quite as good a passer as Ja is on their roster. I don't think Shea is quite on Ja's level as a passer. And I think the weird sneaky thing with the Thunder is like Giddey is like both a real problem for them at times when they play him, but Giddey's also one of their better connective passers.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like this weird kind of wrench situation they put themselves into. But I mean, I don't know. For the Thunder, I'm cool with whoever. I don't really think whoever they draft is going to play. I could see a lot of G League time for whoever the name of this person is.
If you don't go Edie and you want someone that's more of a project that can project as to more like an athletic big, do you go Yves Missi, the dude from Baylor?
Like
I don't think they should go project.
I think that is a very Thunder pick.
Yeah.
I think I think Missy like tops out as a what's the guy? He was on the Suns the last couple of years, and then last year he was on the Thunder.
Why am I blanking?
Bald center, long wingspan. Biyombo. I think he basically tops out as a Biyombo kind of guy with like maybe a little bit of a better
the same dude that dominated LeBron in the finals game. Eastern Conference Finals game.
What's crazy though is adding a couple inches to Biyombo totally changes Biyombo.
That's true, but I will say I don't know.
What y'all laughing at, bro? Y'all got your mind in the gutter at 8 a.m.
But I'm such an Edey guy. Like, can we just like talk about who this Zach Edey is? What is he? 7'4".
7'4" is 300 pounds, like an
300 pounds,
man.
and you can say like, oh yeah, he was faster in the lane agility, 3/4 court, all those like combine. He was faster than Sarr. He was faster than Clingan. Like this guy is not like Taco Fall
he's not
with
slow.
cement in his shoes. He has really great touch, and he doesn't shy away from contact.
He's the problem with Zach Edey would have gone number 1 15 years ago. He absolutely.
But my thing is like, if you're getting Zach Edey, I think he's a solid 82 game player that you're gonna get 15 to 20 minutes a night, and you know that he's just gonna be super annoying for the other team to deal with.
No, I don't have. I think the misconceptions about Edey are completely overstated. He's objectively slower than most of NBA players, but in terms of fives, he's not slower than most of the fives. And like he was beating Donovan Clingan down the floor in that national championship game. He did it like 3 different times, and it's like Donovan Clingan. We rave about his mobility.
Yeah.
And I think you have
Let's
enough
take Edey then.
shooting.
Let's
Yeah.
take Edey, because
Yeah,
it
I'll
does
let
address a need, and there is a chance that he comes in and he is just really good protecting the rim right away.
Even if he's just massive. Like I
He's
think
so big.
Donovan Clingan's gonna have
And
that
really
same
good
thing.
screen setter.
Yes.
And when you've got freaking Shai Gilgeous-Alexander working off those screens.
Could you imagine him doing a Gortat screen? That's gonna be insane to deal with.
Okay, Sacramento Kings. Where are we going?
Charlotte West.
Malik Monk might be on his way out the door.
Do you try to like look for like a 2-guard replacement, or do you go try to like fill Harrison Barnes' spot?
Personally, I felt like they were way too small for a long time.
Okay.
My problem with the Kings is it's the same thing I have with Charlotte. I just don't believe in the core. So I'm kind of like, what are we gonna do? Add to this core that clearly is never gonna beat Denver?
Seed. Yeah.
I don't know. I never know what to do with a team like this. Like, I don't know.
Remember, like, so it's very similar to like how you must have viewed Portland, where they were just hammering the same thing for years, knowing they were never going to beat Golden State.
Yeah. At least with Portland, I felt like, okay, maybe if there wasn't this Golden State dynasty, you could talk me into something like if you do add the right pieces around Lillard, I could see it. But I don't think either of the stars on this team are as good as 2018 Lillard.
I just meant more of like this, like there is a clear something in your way that you'll never beat. So
Yeah.
why are you continuing to try to do it?
But with this team, it's like there's a clear like 8 teams that you'll never beat.
Oh no, I 100%.
Yeah. So that's where I'm just, I don't know. But I guess, what is Sacramento supposed to do about that right now?
Do you take best player, or do you just try to like fill a need?
I mean, if I'm Sacramento, I think I'm competing.
So do you
I think I'm trying to.
Do you think someone like Filipowski coming right now at that 4 spot would help you?
I don't hate Filipowski. I kind of like. I like that he's a shooter. I think he could maybe get minutes with Sabonis. That's kind of what I am looking for. Like
someone that can play
a big
alongside him.
that can play next to Sabonis.
They need that.
And Fox.
Do you think Salon there at this point?
Salon maybe. I like Ware too. Maybe I'd lean Ware, but Salon is definitely like the upside pick. What do you think about Ware's jumper? Do you believe in that?
Nah. I project Ware as more of a 5, which is why putting him next to Sabonis is like an interesting.
Shot 42% from 3 last year on 1 attempt a game.
Exactly. It's sure it's cute, but like it's not something that I'm leaning on.
Yeah. Daron Holmes would be a reach that like I don't hate.
Yeah, Holmes is an interesting pick. I don't know how he fits next to Sabonis. So if I'm drafting someone that like wants to fit next to Sabonis,
38% from 3 on 2 attempts a game.
How tall is he again?
He is 6'10", has a high motor.
Yeah, I know.
Like same kind of questions on defense though.
No, I've seen enough of Dayton. He's a good hub, but the thing is like how he was the actual entire offense in Dayton. They had Kobe Brea around him and all these other guys that they played through Deron Holmes, and now the question with Deron Holmes is going to be like, how is he going to be able to play alongside someone where he's not the hub? And that's why I don't necessarily know if he's a good fit here.
Yeah.
Unless you bring him in as your second unit guy and he just subs in for Sabonis for 12 minutes a game, and it's like, but why are you investing the 14th pick with that?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, it's this draft. It is this draft.
And then you could go like a Tristan Da Silva guy, like passer, size.
Do you think they're looking for someone that can help you right now?
Probably.
This is another team where I feel like it's going to be really hard for whoever they draft to crack the lineup in a serious way.
Would you reach for shooting here? Just pure shooting?
Yeah, I feel like they need.
What about Furphy?
Ooh, no.
No? Too far?
I wouldn't reach that far.
What about Keyshawn George from Miami?
Keyshawn George? I haven't watched like that much, but I know the shot's really real there.
Yeah.
How big is he?
6'8". He's a big guard. I think he's 6'8", if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he was.
I like that.
Yeah, Keyshawn George is a big guard, and he at this point he has one of the highest ceilings.
It's weird because I keep saying it for a lot of these teams, but I feel like this is another team that really needs rim protection. Like every time they played New Orleans this year, they got fucking smacked, and you saw it again in the play-in.
Yeah. Interesting. So then I guess I just don't.
This is why I just don't like their team construction. Is we've seen Sabonis as a 4 in Indiana and it doesn't work, and we've seen Sabonis as a 5 and it definitely doesn't work defensively. So I think Sabonis is a super super talented player, but he has a major flaw that almost makes it impossible to build around him.
So then, do you think like?
So if I'm them,
like
I want to just figure out how can I up my ceiling.
I mean,
do you think like drafting
Holland's
someone?
sitting right there. A guy that, like, at bare minimum, you can see him cutting off Sabonis and just like destroying the rim over and over and over again. And then he's also a guy, if the shot works, then
he
like
has the highest ceiling on the glass.
He fits super well next to Fox and Sabonis.
Him and Murray can switch back and forth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't hate the Holland pick. I just, for some reason, I thought, Holland. I like Holland. I think Kelly Ware. I don't know how much I project him as a real rim protector. Like he's someone
more
like
of a weak side.
Yeah.
I kind of like Holland. I think if you are going to stick with Sabonis as like, you know, the second player on the team, like you have to insulate him with as much perimeter defense as you possibly can.
And I think Holland day one has the ability to come
to
and
do
play.
that.
It seems like Holland needs to go.
He's fallen too far. 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right,
Okay.
we've got one more pick in the lottery. It's Portland.
And we went with, who do we go with for Portland the first time? I don't think it'll necessarily matter, but who did we go
We
with?
went Buzelis.
Got it.
Yeah, and I feel like with our first Portland pick, it was like okay, we'll throw it at the wall pick.
What do you think about a reach for Bobby Klintman?
I don't hate that, but I feel like if you're going like, I feel like Salon is like, like they should be really happy, really high upside guy. I know there is kind of a lot of overlap between him and Buzelis there, but I don't hate like throwing shit at the wall and like, can we find like a real big wing? That's gonna be the successor to Jeremy Grant.
I don't mind Salon. Yeah, I'm with the Salon pick. I mean, at this point, like Portland, you should be taking best player available still, and he fits a need as well.
All right, that is our mock draft for the lottery.
People are going to absolutely kill us for having Edie over Holland. I already know it.
For who over Holland?
Edie.
Oh
my God, that's gonna be, people are not gonna like that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a weird draft, though. It seems like a lot of these teams, like 6 through 14, really need rim protectors. There's not a lot of them in this draft. I think everyone in the NBA landscape, from all the reporting, is not very high on this draft as like we got the first pick, but it's in this draft.
Yeah.
So I think we should expect this draft to be a little bit weird. I think it's going to be kind of fun.
I'm expecting trades.
Oh, yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of movement.
Just because we have to talk about it, where do you guys think Bronny's going to end up?
I'd be shocked if he went in the first round.
I would be too.
But I think we're all pretty confident he's going to end up getting drafted in the second round, though.
I think it's the kind of thing where a team's going to trade into the second round and pick him.
I also think
it seems like the most logical landing spot I've seen is Lakers at 55.
Yeah, but I really could see a team at like 50 taking him and being like, "Well, LeBron, we got your son." Like seriously, I think that's a real possibility.
Honestly, the Suns, I could see them trading back in getting one pick in the second round, getting one of these late first round picks and picking him up. He's already went in for 2 workouts in Phoenix. That may be just agent posturing, but like it's not nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely a James Jones kind of guy. Like, doesn't really care about the shoot, the jumper. Can like.
I mean, he's the only other team.
I saw some reporting that the Mavericks, I guess Nico Collins, their GM, is really close with the James family. I saw that the Timberwolves were a possible landing spot, but I guess Rich Paul's trying to steer him away because the ownership situation is unclear. And then there was a third team. I forget what they were.
I only saw the Suns, Lakers, Mavericks. I did not see the Timberwolves or the other one. But the Mavericks, that makes sense because Nico Collins was he used to work at Nike. He was a rep there.
Yeah, I guess my only thing, obviously, I mean, it's stupid to talk about Bronny James as if he's going to play a lot in the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
But with the Mavericks in particular, like, I feel like Hardy's a nice piece. And if Hardy exists, I don't see a world where Bronny James can exist on the same roster as Jalen Hardy.
Green, and they just brought back Dante Exum last year.
It's like an undersized guard, regardless of how good Bronny ends up becoming, is like the last thing the Mavericks need.
No, they need wings.
Yeah.
They need wings bad.
Yeah, well, and same thing with the Suns. I don't see Bronny James being able to get minutes. On the Suns.
I think this.
What do you mean? They're gonna trade Booker and Durant.
Hey, if they do, like, let's see it.
Do you think if they draft Bronny, they're like angling to get LeBron?
No,
I don't think any team that's
Literally,
drafting
Rich Paul
Bronny is doing that.
Or came out yesterday and said that LeBron is coming off the "I need to play with Bronny" thing.
But do you think that's just posturing?
No, I don't.
No,
I've always thought that it was the most overplayed narrative ever that LeBron needed to play with his son.
I think whatever team drafts Bronny is going to do it because they think like, okay, last year he had the heart problem. This guy's probably way better as a prospect than maybe we think. Everyone thinks he is because the heart held him back so much. He's never going to be a star, but he could be a Eric Bledsoe with a better jump shot, maybe worse defensively.
And this will make Rich Paul really, really, really like me. That's honestly, I don't think that's nothing. Are there any other guys that you want to just shout out that you really like in this class?
I mean,
either of you guys?
I brought up Furphy. I mean, Furphy's he's another guy that's really raw, but projects as like a Cam Johnson type of guy. Mm-hmm. So I mean, you can't have enough shooting on any team. So that's another guy. We brought up Keyshawn George. Keyshawn George is another guy that I'm really high on outside of the top 15 guys. I think Jared McCain is going to have an impact right away. That again, a lot of the guys that I'm mentioning, they can shoot the ball, but they have Jared McCain's smaller frame, Johnny Furphy, just a raw player. Keyshawn George, bad situation, so he had inefficiency issues.
I have a question. Where would Jordan Hawkins go in this year's draft?
Where did he go last year? 14.
He was like 14 to the Pelicans.
If he was the same player he was in college the previous year.
Yeah,
I think he'd go top 5.
Top 5, because that's my only thing though. Thinking about this draft is
no
like
less than top 10.
Jordan Hawkins comes in for the Pelicans and he's like on pace to shatter the rookie 3-point record, but then every other limitation of his game just kept him off the court. Yeah. So that's where I'm just like with this draft, like I just feel like a lot of these guys are not going to get a lot of minutes.
Yeah,
because if Jordan Hawkins, who is like one of the NBA's best shooters, can't get minutes, it's going to be tough to picture any of these guys doing it.
Which is interesting because I feel like if you look at the NBA 5 to 7 years ago, someone like Kyle Korver couldn't do anything but shoot the ball. And like he was on the floor in big minutes for the Atlanta Hawks when they were winning 60 games and the Cavs when they were in the finals. And it's crazy to see. Like I don't know if that's like a league talent issue or like the talent has gotten so much better that you can't just be a specialist anymore.
Yeah, no, you can't just be a specialist
you have to
anymore.
Do multiple things. Which is insane.
You have to.
Yeah, I want to just shout out two guys that I really like near the end of the first round. One of them is Baylor Shireman out of Creighton. 6'7", 200 pounds, just like incredible shooter and like really has a nose for the ball on rebounds, plays with a really good motor. Yep. I could see him latching on with the team and being like a steal role player in this draft. And then a guy that I am just absolutely obsessed with is Ryan Dunn. Have either of you guys looked into any Ryan Dunn? Ryan Dunn, 6'7", but I think plays like he's 6'10", is like a stocks god, averaged 2.3 blocks a game last year, 1.3 steals. To me, he's like if you took Jason Tatum, took out all of his offense, and just like gave him the most insane motor ever. Like I am obsessed with this guy. He shot 20% from 3.
Sounds like the type of player a Celtics fan would say is top 5 in the world.
Yeah. Jumps out of the gym. I just like
the jump shot's the other thing with him.
Yeah, I mean, he has so much like intangibles and like defense that I feel like if he could shoot 30%, 32%, it's like I can see him being an NBA player.
He was a stud. He was the reason that Virginia team was worth their salt. Like they scored like 45 points a game, and he was half of them.
Yeah, no usage. Like didn't use the ball at all.
No, he was
just like
elite defender, like that.
7'1" wingspan, 38-inch vertical. Like yeah.
I think it's going to be really fun, too, this offseason to see, like, the direction teams build their team because, you know, normally whatever team wins the championship is kind of informative of how the teams will build their teams. Yeah. But I feel like the last 2 NBA champion teams with the Celtics and the Nuggets could not be further apart. And the Warriors. I feel like all 3 of those teams are, like, if you put them on a triangle, they'd be on all opposite corners of that triangle.
You have the guards, you have, like, the super jumbo front court in Denver, and then you have, like, the big wings. Like,
yeah, it's like the Warriors, egalitarian spacing, a lot of off-the-ball movement. Denver, hub offense through a big man. Celtics, like, pick and switch, isolation, heavy attack. Yeah. Such different, 3 completely different play styles that have won the last 3 championships is really interesting because I feel like in the 2010s, we were really worried about for the league as a whole, like it was becoming too homogenous.
Yeah. I guess the one thing you do see in all of those teams is just really versatile big men.
And reliable shooting.
Yeah.
Last player I want to shout out. Kevin McCullough, 19 points a game on 38% shooting.
Kansas guy.
But he's a bolt. He's going to go in the second round. But he's going to be someone that sticks. He's a bulldog on defense. I mean, he got hurt, and you noticed it like that.
I feel like in the post-Wiggins draft, the Kansas guys have been pretty reliable.
They have been pretty good.
Yeah, no crazy superstars, but just like everybody that comes out of like Christian Brown, Ochai Agbaji, Devontae Graham was cool for.
Well, I will say with the exception of Josh Jackson.
Oh, that was a bust.
Hot Streak Shooting Slump?
Time for a Hot Streak Shooting Slump.
All right, so this is the portion of the show where we talk about our week and declare if we are on a hot streak or a shooting slump. Neal, you're our guest. How's your week been?
I'm on a hot streak.
There we go.
I'm on a hot streak. Yeah, I've had a pretty good week. Work's been going good. Work's been going good. Been doing a lot of fun stuff. Yeah, I'm on a hot streak. How about you guys?
I'm on a hot streak. I had the day off yesterday. We had a national holiday. Just kind of romped around LA. I went to this Indian Italian fusion like sports bar called Pisa Palace yesterday. That was just like mind-bogglingly delicious. I had some like tikka masala pizza and these like paneer onion rings that were just like, oh, so good. So I'm doing good, and I'm like, I'm very excited to get into off-season NBA. It's one of my favorite things.
This is the best time of the year.
I'm having one of those weeks myself where it's like hot streak moments, but like a general shooting slump. So I don't know what to make of the week. Friday, I got to meet Jalen Ramsey, who was hilarious.
True. That was also
super
very
cool dude. Really, really cool dude. I thought he'd be a little bit. I don't know why. I kind of thought he'd be a little more jaded, but no,
He was
super awesome.
so funny.
Really,
That's awesome.
really cool, funny dude. But after I met Jalen Ramsey, I got a dead leg playing basketball. And normally, I'm sure you guys have all gotten a dead leg or a Charlie horse before, and it usually lasts like a day, and then you wake up the next day and it's gone. Yeah, this thing happened on Friday. It's just not going away. It's like 90% gone now, but like it just like hurt to walk.
Who Charlie Horse to?
Ryan the crash dummy
That
crashed
makes
into
sense.
me.
He crashed
No,
out
no,
on you.
not a dirty play. I was playing help defense, so I was doing the Hibbert verticality. I'm good at that. I'm a good
dog.
help defender.
Big
You
dog.
know, see me. And no, he went for a layup. One of those really infuriating basketball plays where I got my hand on the ball, he double clutched, and then made the layup on the way down. And I'm like, bro,
Damn.
you just gotta pat the guy in the back. Good play. And then I almost crashed into the wall because my leg hurt. And then I played another game on it, which was a mistake.
Legend.
tough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Is like, what would Derek White do?
Yeah.
What would Derek WWDD?
Yeah, what would Derek White do? So I felt like a boss being like Derek White.
That's the kind of grit that we're looking for in our prospects for the NBA draft.
Yeah. But
Right done.
Yep.
all right, this is why I'm on a shooting slump. Even though this is kind of a dub. So I put out a cooking video. It was pretty good. People really loved it, but I had such a colossal fuck up that I just feel like such an idiot. I was making YouTubers' most viewed recipes. So I made Gordon Ramsay's pork belly, and in his video he goes, put it in the oven at 180 degrees for an hour or whatever. So I do that, and it comes out, and it's like the color is not right. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Why does my oven suck? I'm like, all right, let me put it in a little bit more, like look a little bit better. Post it. Every comment, Celsius, you idiot. Dude, he didn't say that though.
I've never even seen an oven. Like my oven, when I press like the preheat button or start it on, it starts at like 350. Like it doesn't let me go down.
I just like, bro. Like what? Like I don't know. You gotta say Celsius, man. I don't
with
know.
ya.
He didn't say. He just said degrees, and I feel like degrees is Fahrenheit, and I feel like Celsius. You don't even say degrees. You say Celsius.
180 degrees Celsius. Like
It's like 350.
oh,
I literally
like-
lowered it.
oh my god.
They set
pretty
you
much-
up for failure.
You pretty much microwaved it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, I
pretty
pretty
much
much,
what you did.
dude. Yeah, I was not. I just felt so stupid, and now 100,000 people have seen that I'm an idiot, and
Engagement.
dumb American.
Just made it up.
Engagement is great. Yeah.
Just engage.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's all for the engagement.
I think Celsius is stupid. I'm just gonna say it.
Celsius is stupid.
Like I'm
And-
cool with us switching to the metric system for measurements because it's like easily divisible.
Yeah. Feet and inches is kind of whack.
Yeah, feet and inches is kind of whack. I'll give the Europeans that, but I just think Celsius is objectively dumb.
I don't understand it. Why
Like
don't
Fahrenheit, 0's cold, 100's hot. It makes sense.
yeah.
I don't have a take. No,
I'm with you.
I don't know the
Yeah.
reasoning.
Here's the other thing too. Like the difference between like 45 degrees and 46 degrees Fahrenheit, it's small, right? Difference between like 20 Celsius and 21 Celsius is like huge.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Did
It's
you
not
see-
even accurate.
did you see,
You got to use decimals.
Did you see those weak Europeans?
I'm against all decimals, so I guess I'm out on it.
Yeah.
Did you see those weak Europeans were complaining about 78 degrees Fahrenheit?
I did see that.
I know the
yeah.
context
Bro,
behind
do
it
you
all,
see these
but I don't
weak
care.
Europeans that we have not even going until the top 6 in this draft?
All these
Yeah,
damn
wow, we
Frenchmen.
really rode hard for the Americans, I gotta say.
I mean, James knows I'm an avid G League Ignite hater. I'm so glad that shit got shut down.
It's not the Euro.
Well, still, I'm so glad that all
You
these guys-
won. Is the death of the G League Ignite?
Yes,
not
I
enough?
won.
I feel like, though, the death of college basketball was when Luka became an absolute superstar and Trae Young became Trae Young.
Well, no, and this is what
I think that's where college basketball
no, we're
died.
back, bro. We're back. Cooper
We are
Flag,
back. Bailey, Harper.
We're
We're
back.
so back.
I don't even care. We don't need all this other stuff. Let's go
We're
play college
so
basketball.
back, and we
It's
will
so
be
over.
back next. Or
Oh, wait, I have to decide if I'm on a slump or not.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
what
we'll
are
be
you
back.
on?
Celtics won the championship this week.
It was tough. It was a tough scene.
Oh yeah, that was also a contributing factor to my hot streak. Luka has not won as many finals games as Devin Booker. Just gotta throw that out there.
That's sad. That was a sad day. That's a sad day.
You know what? I'm going to say I'm on a hot streak.
There we go.
Let's go.
Happy for
That's
you.
3 hot streaks. What about you, Max?
No mic today, Max.
Oh my God.
All right, Max, give me a thumbs up if you're on a streak or a thumbs down if you're...
Down.
Oh, wait, if you're on a slump, I want to hear about it. We'll open next show with your slump.
Yeah.
Great, yeah, that's what people want.
Well, I want you to remember it after you have after you streak up this weekend.
What the hell? I want you to come back after you have a good weekend and remember the bad time you had.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I had to suffer through an 18th Celtics championship. I guess only second in my life.
Yeah, you've seen more Lakers championships than Celtics championships.
That's true.
Way more Lakers
That's
championships.
true. Also, I would like to remind the Boston Nation that since the Heat joined the NBA, we do have more championships than you. I don't really care about your prehistoric ones.
When did the Heat join the NBA? 1991?
88?
So did the Bulls. We have more championships than Celtics too.
Yeah. So, like, that's the thing. The Celtics, you guys are only able to win when the real teams aren't in the league.
Yeah. Frauds.
Yeah, if we've established anything, you guys are not a premier franchise.
The Lakers also have 5 too many championships listed under their name. You win your championships for your city, not for your franchise.
Oh, they're counting some Minneapolis ones?
Yep.
That's crazy. You got 5 rings. Big dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Big dog.
Well, okay, but Max, thumbs up. Does it feel like those are your championships or thumbs?
No.
Okay, so Patrick, I feel like if they're not Max's, then they're ours.
Does it feel like those are Lakers championships?
Yeah, I see them in the banners. I see them in the rafters. Well, you don't know what it's like to have rafters, so you wouldn't know.
Hey, we've got
Got his ass.
we got 3 conference championships banners laying
What are
up
you, the
there.
Clippers? They're hanging conference championship banners?
The Clippers.
Desert Clippers.
The Clippers have 0 conference championships.
That's true.
They've never made the. Oh,
They've only made it once.
Oh my God.
I mean, if you really want to get weird, like technically the Clippers are the Boston Celtics because when the Buffalo Braves and the Boston Celtics, they like swapped teams, their owners swapped teams and they moved them out to the Clippers. So you want to get really, really weird, we can like
Wait, so that's
talk about
legitimately
that.
the worst trade deal in the history of trade deals.
Yeah, that's way
Ever.
worse. That is terrible.
That is awful.
But
Luka Doncic looked like.
Yeah, look like
swap.
the Treaty of Versailles.
Yeah, what the hell?
But yeah, we'll have plenty of offseason time to go into like the owners of the 1970s trading their entire franchises.
Yeah, the Clippers have more titles than the Lakers. That's what I'm hearing. That's all I'm hearing right now.
I don't think that would math out that way either, but
Close enough.
yeah, close enough.
All right, we'll catch you guys on Monday. We are doing our giant best take, worst take. That is the entire show. The best take, worst take finale of the year. We'll see you then. Peace.